Hello guys, welcome to a new video. Before I start this, I want to say thank you guys so much for all the success that I've been having on my two most recent videos. My most recent video before this, my Biden versus Trump prediction, I recorded it before all the success happened on my Senate prediction, so I couldn't thank you guys, but now thank you. Now I want to say thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. It means so much to see the success on this channel. My most recent video and the video before that both got over 200 views each, and my most recent video has only been out for only a day. Thank you guys so much. It's unbelievable. And I'm so thankful. So thank you guys. And on to the prediction. So this prediction is Joe Biden against Ron DeSantis. Joe Biden is obviously the 46th president, and Ron DeSantis is the governor of Florida, who's been gaining a lot of prominence as of recently. A lot of people are starting to see that Trump isn't that electable of a candidate, so a lot of Republicans are starting to switch over to DeSantis for a primary, and at this point, I would say it's more likely that DeSantis is the nominee over Trump. So, as of right now, I think the most likely 2024 matchup would be Biden versus DeSantis, but I wouldn't be surprised if Trump was the nominee. But right now, I think DeSantis is the most likely nominee. So I am going to be making this prediction. This is just my opinion. It can always change. And I think DeSantis is much, much more electable than Trump. And he's going to do a lot better than how Trump did in my 2024 prediction for him, which I'm going to have in the description and in the upper corner of this video. So without further ado, first, this dark blue is solid for Democrats, so over 15%. This color is likely or between 15 and 5% for Democrats. This is lean or between 5 and 1% for Democrats. And then this is tilt or under 1% for Democrats. And then for Republicans, this is safe or over 15. This is likely or between 15 and 5 for their margin of victory. This is between 5 and 1. And then this is under 1. So just kind of laying that out in case you don't know my system of showing states and their margins. So without further ado, let's start this. So first, for Biden's safe states, over 15%, California, Oregon, Washington, Hawaii. None of these are really much of a surprise. New York, Maine's first, Illinois. In my Biden against Trump prediction, I did give Colorado to Biden as a safe state, but I think now he would only win it by about 14, so not by a safe margin, so I'm not going to characterize it now. And for DeSantis, Idaho, Utah, I had it as likely for Trump, but DeSantis would appeal a lot more to the moderate conservatives of Utah, Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, Maine at large, and Maine's third, Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi. I think Louisiana would be just at about 15, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, West Virginia, and Indiana. That puts Joe Biden at 181 electoral votes, and that puts Ron DeSantis at 102 electoral votes. So now for Biden's likely states, or between 15 and 5%, Colorado, as I said, New Mexico. People are saying it's shifting to the right. It's not. It's shifting to the left very slowly. New Hampshire, voted for Maggie Hassan by 9 in a Republican favorable year. It's going to go to the Democrats. Maine at large, barely. It's on the edge of being safe. Virginia, if DeSantis picks Youngkin as his VP, even then, it would probably be only about 6%. Virginia, on a federal level, it doesn't have much of a chance of going to the Republicans again, unless there's like a recession. And, oh, yes, Minnesota, probably by only about 5 points, but Amy Klobuchar is going to be running, and she's going to win by a large margin, so that should be enough to boost Biden so that he wins it by over 5. Now for DeSantis' likely states, Montana, Trump won it by barely 15 in 2020. I only say it'll be likely, probably about 14, because Jon Tester is the Democrat who's probably going to be running, which would probably increase Biden's percent total, I guess, because Jon Tester's supporters will be turning out, so more of them will vote for Biden, because Jon Tester's a Democrat. Maine's second, Maine's second would go to Biden. I forgot to give that to Biden. And then Maine's first would go to DeSantis. Kansas, it's been shifting to the left very fast. I voted for Laura Kelly for governor. So I think it would probably be around 13 to 14%. Texas, I think only barely it would be likely. Against Trump, it would probably be about 3, but against DeSantis, it would probably be a little bit less than Trump's margin, which was, I think, 5.6 in 2020. I think it would only be a little bit less than that, probably 5.3-ish. Alaska, it voted for Mary Peltola. It's shifting to the left, but it's still, right now, a Republican state. Florida, probably voting for DeSantis by 13, 14%. I don't see it as being a safe state, simply because it's Florida. It's always been a swing state. I think the reason that DeSantis won it by 20, it is because he's a popular governor, but it's also because people are a lot less partisan in governor elections. That's how Andy Beshear won in Kentucky. That's how Larry Hogan won in Maryland. People are just a lot less partisan in governor elections. So I do see more Democrats voting along party lines here, which is why I think it would be only at a likely margin. South Carolina, probably 10, 11 points. It went to Trump by 9 in 2020. Ohio and Iowa, they pretty much vote the same. I think it's going to be about 8 to 9 in Ohio, about 9 to 10 in Iowa. In Ohio, Sherrod Brown is going to be running on the Democrat side. So I do see it being, his margin being reduced because of Sherrod Brown, but I do still think it's going to be certainly over 5 and probably not double digits, but about 8. And then Maine second, the congressional district there was won by a Democrat in 2022. However, on a presidential level, it votes more for Republicans. It voted for Biden in 2020. It voted for Trump in 2020 by about the same margin. And it voted for Trump in 2016 by, I believe, the same margin. So I'm just going to give it to DeSantis. And that leaves us with our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 swing states, or really close states that will be below 5%. Currently, Joe Biden is at 226 electoral votes, and DeSantis is at 219, so it is very close. And that's a common theme you're going to see with this election prediction. It is extremely close between these two. They are almost perfectly matched. So, now for the lean states. First for Democrats. So this is between 5 and 1%. I think Michigan would go to Biden by about 1 to 2%. I think it went to him by 2.5 in 2020. I think it would go to him by a similar margin in 2024. I should probably get into this now. DeSantis has a ton of appeal in the suburbs and in the Sun Belt and a lot of Hispanic, Latino areas. However, in the Rust Belt, he doesn't have the appeal that Trump had. So I would expect the Rust Belt to not really have that same pull to the right as Trump had on it, which, as we might come to see, could be Biden's saving grace. Depending on what happens, you have to stay tuned. But that was weird. I apologize. So what else? I think that's it for Biden's lean states. And then for DeSantis' lean states, North Carolina, it has been quite close, and in a Biden versus Trump matchup, I would give it to Biden, but a lot of its suburbs are crucial to a Democrat victory, and along with African American turnout, but the suburbs are crucial, and DeSantis has this pull in suburbs, which Biden really can't match, so I think it would be lean Republican. And with the lean states out of the way, Biden is at 241 electoral votes, DeSantis is at 235, and we are now down to the under 1% states. So I think this election will be decided by under 1%. And I think I'm just going to go through them in order of how close I think they'll be, so how wide the margin will be. First, Pennsylvania. It's Biden's home state. I think it would go to him by 0.7 to 0.9. It was Biden's tipping point state in 2020. And I think he would definitely be able to win it. Or not definitely. Any tilt state is a state that could easily go to the other candidate, but if I had to make a characterization, I would give it to a certain candidate. So I think it could go to DeSantis, but as of right now, I think it would go to Biden by barely under 1%. He's from there. DeSantis doesn't have the same appeal in the Rust Belt that Trump did. So I think it would go to Biden. And then I think the next closest state will be Georgia, which I'm giving to Ron DeSantis. I think it would be at about 0.6%, 0.7%. And I think Georgia is really decided by the suburbs. The suburbs would probably go blue either way, I think. But DeSantis has enough appeal in the suburbs to be able to pull a lot of votes from that area, because even though the suburbs aren't generally Republican in Georgia, there are so many votes in there that if a candidate does well in the suburbs, that's enough for them to win the election, which is how Brian Kemp won by 7 points. I think 7 points, either 7 or 8 points in 2022, because he had a lot of appeal in the suburbs. And I think the same would happen here. And Georgia is still, it is a battleground state, but it's still leaning Republican. So if there's a good Republican candidate who can really capture the suburbs and have a lot of suburb appeal, then they could win. And I think DeSantis could do that, so I am giving Georgia to Ron DeSantis. That puts Biden at 260 electoral votes and Ron DeSantis at 251. It is really getting neck and neck. Next, Arizona. I think this would probably go to DeSantis by about, I'm really starting to split hairs here, but probably about, I'm not even really going to make a characterization on the exact percentage, but under 1%, closer than Georgia, closer than Pennsylvania. It is shifting to the left very fast, along with Georgia. However, a moderate Republican, or at least a Republican that comes off as moderate, could still win in the state of Arizona. And Ron DeSantis can do that. Arizona is a moderate state, completely. And the reason Trump lost in 2020, and the reason that Blake Masters and Kari Lake lost in 2022 is because Arizona is an extremely moderate state. So they won't vote for an election denier. They won't vote for someone who downplayed the virus or disrespected John McCain. But DeSantis didn't do that. A lot of people are saying DeSantis is kind of Trump, but he knows when to stop talking. I'm not really going to say whether that's accurate, but in the state of Arizona, it does kind of make the difference. And DeSantis knows not to do some of the things that Trump and Kari Lake and Blake Masters did in Arizona. He knows to be a moderate, because being a moderate in Arizona is how you win. And that is why I think DeSantis would win in Arizona, because he can appeal to moderates. He can present himself as a moderate, and that could make him win. So currently, Biden's at 260, DeSantis is at 262. So the next state I'm going to characterize is the state of Nevada. I'm going to give it to Ron DeSantis by very, very slim margin, but I think he would be able to win it. He can do very well with minorities there, especially Latinos. Nevada, unlike a lot of other Sunbelt states, is either politically stagnant or it's very, very, very slowly shifting to the right. And Adam Laxalt was very close to winning in 2022, and I think DeSantis can have a lot of appeal to Latinos there and to the Las Vegas area where he can rake in a bunch of votes, and I think that could be enough to have him win the state of Nevada. So after I characterized the state of Nevada for him, that puts him at 268 electoral votes, only 2 away from winning, and the only state remaining is the state of Wisconsin. This, I think, would be the absolute closest state in an election like this. Because on one hand, you have DeSantis is more competent of a campaigner and a better candidate than Trump. And Trump got it to about 0.6% in 2020, and he won it in 2016. However, Biden has a lot of appeal in the Rust Belt, or at least he has some appeal in the Rust Belt, and DeSantis doesn't have as much appeal in the Rust Belt as Trump did. He doesn't have that magic, I guess, that Trump had, which was able to have him carry Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania in 2016. DeSantis just doesn't have that. So it's very, very, very close. It's basically splitting hairs. But especially since we have no polls from it yet. And honestly, I wouldn't characterize it, but I know I should. I as a viewer, I know I wouldn't want a state to not be characterized, so I'm gonna characterize it. But just know, it is extremely, extremely, extremely close, and I would easily give it to the other candidate if something very small were to happen. But as of right now, I will give the state of Wisconsin barely to Ron DeSantis by an extremely, extremely, extremely narrow margin, splitting hairs, because Wisconsin is a state that is shifting to the right, and we've seen that candidates can win in Wisconsin. Republican candidates can win in Wisconsin. Ron Johnson won by 1%, and Trump won by 0.6 in 2016. It is very possible for a Republican to win in Wisconsin, and with Biden being as disapproved of as he is, and with DeSantis being as approved of as he is, even though he may not have the same Rust Belt magic that Trump had in 2016 and some of 2020, I think it would still be enough for him to carry the state of Wisconsin. So as of right now, by the absolute narrowest margin, I do see Ron DeSantis winning against Joe Biden barely and becoming the 47th president of the United States. Barely. I think Biden would win the popular vote, so it would be, I think, the 5th time in American history that a candidate has won the Electoral College but lost the popular vote. And I think DeSantis would be able to do it. Barely. Barely. And again, keep in mind, tilt states can go to either candidate. And especially Wisconsin, because it is literally splitting hairs. Or not literally, but it is extremely, extremely, extremely close. I need to emphasize how close this is. And this is like a big improvement for Republicans than with Trump, because Trump is at his least electable. So with an unpopular candidate like Trump, I think they would lose by an even larger margin than 2020. However, with a popular candidate like Ron DeSantis, they could win the presidential election, but barely. So that's going to be my prediction. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, thank you so much for the success that I've been seeing on my channel. It's amazing. Thank you guys so much. See you guys in the next video.